I'm not sure if everybody knows this, but I've invested in more than 200 companies led by underrepresented founders since 2015. Thank you. What has helped me get over imposter syndrome, and I'm way over it, by the way, way over it. But what has helped me is understanding that we don't have time for it. It's not like a luxury of time that we can say, oh, we have these years. We have to mobilize and do all the things we were talking about before. Therefore, the part of it where it's like, am I supposed to be here? Let's all just agree that yes, we're supposed to be here. Yes, we're qualified to do it. If we don't know how to do it today, yes, we can learn how to do it. Let's just all agree on that and then save some years of our lives doing the thing.
Yes.
You decided to create a venture firm. You were homeless, right? So let's go even further. How did you go about doing it? You didn't have any connections, anything else? And I know the story, but I want you to tell people the story about, what did you do? You went out there and you just said, I'm gonna do this. How did you start doing it with zero?
At zero, I started by doing what a lot of people can do today, which is, it started with information. I started reading everything I possibly could. I got my hands on every book, every article, every podcast, everything I could get my hands on for what I called a home education, homeschooling. And it was really driven by the fact that I had found out at around 2011 that there was this really weird and stark statistic that 90% of all venture funding, the innovative capital that goes into entrepreneurs, and angel investing as well, was going to white men. And that means that 10% was being divvied up among everybody else. And as you know, personally, that doesn't make any sense. White men make up about a third of the country. And besides that, I grew up surrounded by people who did not look like that and who were thriving and who had amazing ideas and who executed on those ideas. And so as a gay Black woman, I said, well, this is really frustrating and this is hurtful, but I can sit here and be upset about it, or I can kind of turn this around. And instead of trying to raise capital for a company that I was thinking about starting, I said, what would happen if somebody started a fund that only invested in the underrepresented and the underestimated? And Backstage Capital was born from that idea. And then once I had the idea, there was nothing that was going to stop me from doing that, not even a little homelessness.
I know that I started Backstage on that footing, on that idea of Black people, people of color, all BIPOC, women, LGBTQ, etc. We're not getting the right proportion amount of what is due to us. And that is in venture. That is if you want to take on venture funding. Right. And for me, it was a symbol of something. It wasn't all about venture itself, but it was a symbol. It was a principle of the matter.
Right.
And so when I started it, I didn't start it by saying I want to be rich, because to be honest with you, if I wanted to be rich a decade ago, it would be much, much better for me to do something else.
Yes.
Building Backstage Capital from the ground up while homeless, it was the longest road to getting rich.
But you did it.
Well, you know how you do. But you wouldn't have seen that. I wouldn't have ever known that was the right road, right? But I started it because I said there is a discrepancy. There is a problem here that I don't think is
about
fair.
money.
And I said, I'm going to invest in 100 companies by 2020. It wasn't a question or a hope. I'm going to.
It was a fact.
It was a fact. Yeah, hashtag a fact. I mean, I had people laugh in my face and
like
say,
actively.
Yeah. People that were successful and had something, and I was homeless.
Well, and in fact, you were wrong, because you didn't fund 100
That's right.
companies.
They're exactly right.
You beat that goal by a year and a half.
Yeah.
How do you define success?
How do I define success?
Yes.
Wherever I am, whatever I've accomplished. Wherever you are, whatever you've accomplished.
Wow. Right.
Is success. Success is 1 foot forward and understanding that is true success. Success is getting out of bed in the morning while facing debilitating depression, or being introverted, or having some sort of ability issue and still moving forward. That to me is success. Therefore, every single day I celebrate and I recognize success in everyone.
just so in case no one knows this or anyone doesn't know this, you invested in my venture fund, Backstage Capital, and I wanted just to thank you for that again and to mention it because you invested $6 million into a venture fund where you don't like investing in other people's funds because you say you like to have fun doing direct investments, and you represent, a fourth or so of our assets under management. So people ask me almost every day of my life, what's it like working with Mark Cuban?
I'm sorry.
And I say, my name is Arlan. No, I say, it's what I say to them is that you treat me like you treat, and this is, I say you treat me like I think you treat white men, which is a compliment because you will tell me when you don't like something, you'll tell me when you love something, and I'll never have to guess where I stand.
No, you definitely don't have to guess.
No, never have to guess with you, right?
Yeah, I'm always direct.
But I'm direct too, so I think it helps.
I actually have an academy called arlansacademy.com. It's free. And it teaches you about bootstrapping and it teaches you about all sorts of things. And I have people come back to me and say, I was looking for funding, so I took your course about fundraising, but then you said to bootstrap for a year, so I did that, and now my company is worth so much more. Now do you want to invest in it? So it all comes back the way it's supposed to come back.
How do you work past the automatic no, and that's in caps, that you're taught to hear first?
Well, I think about it as a numbers game. You're going to hear no. You're going to hear from yourself included. You're going to hear no. This is, we talked about imposter syndrome, but you're going to hear no left and right. And that's most of it is because of systemic issues. And some of it is just because that's the way the cookie crumbles. And there's only a certain number of spots in each thing you're doing. But I looked at that early on as a numbers game of I'm going to have to kind of get through the no's in order to get to the yeses. And so bring on the no's. Bring them on and restructure, recalibrate, understand what the game is. I think the more you can be prepared for whatever you're working on beforehand, and especially when it comes to things that how you view things, the better. There's just a way to really prepare, research, understand the players, understand the game, and it'll save you a lot of heartache.
Can you help us understand how you became Arlan?
Well, I was 2 years old and I was telling off well, I'm 41 and, how did I become Arlan? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. How did I become Arlan? Well, I think I always knew, I've known since I was probably 5 or so that I would be doing something at a grand scale. What I mean by that is when I was about 5 years old, I was at daycare. And I remember very distinctly to this day stepping onto a shuttle to go to school or go to, the next place. And I remember just looking around and whatever I could imagine at that age, I said, the whole world will know my name. And I don't know what that meant to me at the time, but I remember seeing it. I remember the feeling of the air and the surroundings around me, and I've never forgotten that. And it wasn't about being famous, because I think being famous can be toxic and be scary. It was about, I have a message that I have, and the message isn't very, it's attainable and it's approachable, and I want as many people as possible to hear it.
Yes.
And it took so long, 7 years ago, the part we didn't talk about is 7 years ago, I was sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport. I was homeless. And I, went from that to this. And for that whole time, when I was bouncing back and forth from having really cool jobs in the music industry, live music industry, and being broke and all of these different things, I didn't exactly know when it was going to pan out and when it was going to work out. But I knew that I had a message. I call myself, and other people call me, a key maker and not a gatekeeper. Anytime you're in a room, anytime you're in a situation where you have something, share it. Bring somebody else into the room. Tell somebody else the information. Give them the memo, as my friend Minda Hart says.
Yes.
Give people the information and share it. And then, it makes your own, what can sometimes be a very lonely experience in existence, it makes it much richer.
Yeah, I have an entire chapter in my book. It's about the end time behind me called Share Your Voice with the World, because the world needs to hear it. So many people, first they say, that they're impressed that I can speak and, you know, do all these conversations. But I had an incredible stage fright until I was 36. And just, I mean, random, like hid behind a tree once when I was supposed to be hosting something. A tree has another side to it, by the way, if you ever try to do that. And so I definitely, I know that the reason I was able to change that and not hide behind a tree when I was asked to speak is because I figured out that it's not about necessarily me. It's not about people hearing from me or knowing who I am. It's about what they're getting out of it. And so when you change that perspective, it can help you, not just with stage fright, but with just speaking up for yourself in general in life, speaking up for other people. Because when you speak up for yourself, you speak up for those behind you who don't have that courage yet, or who haven't gotten to where you are yet. I call it loosening the pickle jar. I think I've mentioned that before. It's like you may go and ask for, you know, frankly, ask for the raise, or you may ask for some sort of department change to happen, and it may not end up happening. And so you think through that and you're like, I'm afraid to even ask because I'm going to be rejected, or I have that chance of being rejected. But if you think about it more so that by you doing that, you've made it slightly easier for the next person, you've loosened the pickle jar. I think that to me, at least, it changes everything. It makes it not about myself, it makes it about who can get something from it. And I have to say, I've seen it just firsthand how much speaking out can change things, can change the world.
You, Arlan Hamilton, were the first non-celebrity Black woman, as well as the very first Black woman in tech and VC to grace the cover of Fast Company magazine. Yes. And I'm sorry for the dad joke, but you were in very good company, because the other Black women that were on that cover were Oprah, Beyonce, Serena, and now you get the single name Arlan. You've just moved on to a single name moniker now, Arlan.
Okay, I don't know if you all will get this, but because you're so young, but Sister Act 2.
Yes.
Laura told Lauryn Hill, she said, if you wake up thinking about it, you're a singer. You don't have to, nobody has to give you permission for that. There's going to be some people who are elitists and some people who are entitled, and they're like, well, you're not doing it the way I'm doing it, so you're not doing it right. Okay, do what you want to do. What you're the one who has to wake up and do the job. So what you're going to say? Well, this person said that I wasn't a real entrepreneur because I wasn't on Product Hunt, or I don't have venture capital. Who are they? Why do they have time to tell you that? Why do they have time to even poke their head over there and say, So I would just say, just go all in, make mistakes, pivot, change your mind, have fun, give, impact, and hopefully along the way you make some money from it.